We use some material, a whole bunch from chapter 2. We do this a whole lot in doing these weight problems because sometimes they give you grams and sometimes they give you moles and sometimes they ask for grams and sometimes they ask for moles. So we've got to get really good whipping this back and forth. Let's assume we're working with a compound. So if I want to go here, here to here, Nicole up front, what do I do?
Divide by the formula.
Good. And Tanya, if I want to run it backwards, what do I do? Multiply by the formula weight. Now let me ask you this. What if I were working with an element instead of working with a compound? We'd use atomic weight. You do everything the same. So you use atomic weight for elements. You use formula weights, also sometimes called molecular weights. And so we learned how to do that, and we're going to use it a lot. Now, if you want to know moles of unknown, that's where we use the 2 sets of parentheses if you're using this technique. If we want grams of unknown, okay, now let's fill that out. Remember, in weights, you only deal with 2 things at a time. It can be any 2 things, but only 2 at a time. So in this first one, Emily, what do I put?
The grams of
Okay, just tell me more general. Grams would be okay, but then you'd have to do more with it. But go that way if you want to. I don't care. What? Okay, Meredith, help her out.
You would put in that first one you put grams of known, right?
Okay.
Over the formula of the known.
Of the known. Now that is one way to answer, and that is absolutely correct. What you really want in that first one is moles. You want moles, and this is a point. Somebody was in my office this morning, so I want to be sure we clarify this. This is where you do the known. If they give you moles of known, say, thank you very much. Slap it in there. That's all you have to do with it. On the other hand, if they give you grams, then you got to divide by the formula weight. But somehow, you got to get to moles. So down here, I'm just going to put moles of known. But that's also moles of known. Okay, next thing we have to do here. Hina, what do I do?
You do the mole ratio of unknown over known.
Yes, and those are the coefficients. And down here, it's the same. So if you stop after 2, you get moles of this stuff. Okay, but what if we wanted to go all the way to grams of this stuff? Liz, what do I put out here?
Formula weight.
Formula weight of what?
Unknown.
Unknown. Because look, 2 of them gives you moles of unknown. Hey, you're right here. If you want to go back to grams of it, then what are you doing? You're taking the answer from these first 2, multiplying it by the formula weight, and that gets you to grams of your unknown. So all of this stuff ties together. Okay, and just as a refresher also, on these weights, I had a little table before. Let's take another look at it. They can give you moles of known, and they can want moles of unknown. Lucky us. That means 2 sets of parentheses. You take the moles they give you, slam it in here, times the mole ratio, bingo, you got it. Or if they ask for molecules there, it would be the same, but I try to steer clear of those. Okay, they can give you moles, and they can ask you for grams. Okay, lucky you. You know moles of known, slap it in. But it's going to be 3 sets of parentheses because you want grams of unknown. Or they can give you grams of this one and ask you for moles of this one. Okay, you got to switch this known over to moles. So in here you do it like this, mole ratio, end of story, because they're asking you for moles. Okay, and then the most popular of all is grams to grams. Okay, are we all right with that? Okay. Yeah, Meredith?
Grams to grams, we just basically do the third one, but we do the grams
because this is the same as that. One place, because of how you answered the question, I put it the long way, and then this is the shorter way to write it. But now, on the review sheet, there's one really tricky, because it just says, how much of this stuff do you get? That's your unknown, of course. It doesn't say grams or moles. Some of the answers are in moles, and some of them are in grams. And so you gotta do a match. So if you go all the way to grams first, and you don't spot the answer, then backtrack. Maybe the answer is in moles. Okay, so that's a real trick. Now, somebody had their hand up. Nina?
I did. This is probably no question, but why can't you just, if you're going moles to grams or grams to moles, follow, the formula there, the arrow formula?
Okay, tell me which one you want to think of first. Grams to grams?
No. If it were just moles to grams or grams to moles, why couldn't you just divide
Because
or
you're-
multiply by the
okay.
formula weight to
You
take
got
the gram?
two different problems here when you're saying that. When you were doing this, just in chapter 2, you had one substance only. I would say, I've got water. I have so many grams of water, how many moles of water is it? Not a reaction. We're just talking about one thing. That's chapter 2, one thing. Now, when we're talking here, we've got a chemical equation. We are talking about two things within that chemical equation. One of them has been designated as the known by how the problem is worded. The other is the unknown by how the problem is worded. So we've got this stuff, we've got two separate substances. That's why it's not that easy, just like that. Okay, are we all right on that?